My name's Artem. I am a mathematician by training and currently working as a head of research at Cyberfund. And my talk is going to be all about cyber economy. And cyber economy is a concept, is a thesis that we have internally, and I'm very excited to present it to you today. Before that, I'd like to say a couple of words about ourselves, Cyberfund. So we are a private investment firm, and there's a few key information points about us. So one is that we're thesis-driven, and we're doing it, we're investing based on a particular thesis since 2014. And the thesis is about this cybernetic economy that the way we coordinate, the way society lives is actually rapidly changing. And I'll get into the details of it, later. And then, obviously, based on this vision, we like to back founders and projects which accelerate this vision. And some of the highlights are our Genesis investments in Ethereum and Solana, and we backed 200 plus startups since then. In addition to being investors, we're also founders. We co-founded two projects within a blockchain space, Lido and P2P, which are both staking solutions. One is a decentralized one. The other is more kind of direct staking, institutional one with over 40 billion assets under management. So we have kind of a direct builder and entrepreneurship expertise within our firm, and we obviously leverage that with helping our portfolio companies. And today, we're deploying about 50 million per year with a focus on crypto, AI, and robotics. And while in 2014 and 15, we started with a really deep focus on crypto. Right now, we're moving more and more towards AI. And the single reason, actually not single, but the primary reason is because AI drives the next phase of capitalism. And that's what I want to talk about today. So we call it a cyber economy, this next phase of capitalism. And this is a little picture to kind of give you an idea and inspiration of what it could potentially look like. A couple of key characteristics of this phase is that first, it is hyper efficient. It's even more efficient right now. Second, it is self-regulating, and I cannot, overstate it enough. Basically, it sort of self-corrects along the way, and it self-corrects faster than before. That's why it's cybernetic, because cybernetics is all about this self-regulating feedback loops. And then what it is, it is really a system of resource allocation. And I'm going to talk more about it on the next slide. But yeah, it's, economy itself is a system of resource allocation. But this is kind of the next phase, and it really will change how we interact between each other, right? And so today is going to be all about that. Maybe before I proceed into the next slide, which is kind of the crux of the matter, I want to say that, the goal of it is twofold. One is to sort of lay out the vision and share it with you, right? Maybe inspire on the one hand, but on the other hand also pinpoint exactly the missing pieces a little bit. And actually today, the whole conference is about these missing pieces of AI agents, neutral substrates on top of which they develop, identity and reputation, and et cetera, et cetera. But this talk is kind of about how these pieces that Stepan and Matt and everyone have been talking about, how they fit into this more, let's say, bigger vision of our economy and our humanity. All right. So first, what we had before or what we have right now is an economy, right? And it is a resource allocation system. And the way I like to think about it, and the way I suggest we think today about it, is that on the left we have organizations, entities, right? These are people, firms, states, different types of entities. On the right we have the market, right? And it's a bit of an ephemeral term. There's different definitions, but we all understand what that is, right? And then these entities, they interchange resources between each other through the market. And there's two arrows. One is supply. They produce resources. They consume resources, produce other resources, and then through the market, they also demand those resources. And this is kind of the cycle of resource allocation or resource reallocation, as I like to think about it. Now, let's put our AI hat on, and let's think about it as a resource reinforcement learning machine, right? Essentially, it's a system that constantly is working, right? But the entities actually have some utility function. Everyone has their own, but they get some sort of reward from the market. And this reward kind of directs them to do something else. So classically, in economics, if supply is more than demand, the prices essentially fall. If the supply is less than demand, the prices actually rise. So this is kind of how these entities really learn through the environment of market of the economy. Okay, and these are these rewards that come from the market. And let me underscore one thing, that price is I would say probably the most important thing in our economy. Why? Is because the price is public, right? For most of the things, on the one hand, and on the other hand, it really is the key variable which is responsible for the reward function, right? For the learning, right? Because when I buy something or when I sell something, the amount that I get or that I spend really directly depends on the price. So we should think about the price as the signal from the market upon which the entities, organizations, and really our economy is learning, reinforcement learning. Yeah. So that's how it works. But what's the catch here? Like, I guess, what are, I would say, challenges nowadays? Well, in the first bullet point there, I wrote that, this resource allocation, in this resource allocation system, entities are assumed to be rational, right? They get a reward and then they try to maximize some utility function. But the catch is that we, as humans, our rationality is bounded. And that there was a Nobel Prize given for that idea, is that we cannot be completely rational because we don't have full information, we have limited ability to analyze, et cetera, et cetera. And I laid out here exactly kind of our limitations. And we are limited in the way we can search and read, this discovery capacity, the cognitive capacity to analyze, coordination capacity to communicate and commit as well. We cannot communicate closely with more than 150 people. And then action capacity, obviously, we are also quite limited. So that's kind of the catch. And if you think about what are the problems in the economy, well, there's asset bubbles, right? Some people think AI is in a bubble. There's debt cycle, debt bubbles, debt cycles, and America is famously right now is kind of in a debt cycle, and etc. So there are various kind of this clear, let's say, from math standpoint, problems in economy, and they all rise from this bounded rationality and reflexive loops that come about from them. Okay, so those are some challenges, and now sort of tying back to the topic of today's conference, what does AI really do about it? Well, it actually excels in all these capacities. It literally, like, in every of this capacity, AI is, I don't know, like orders of magnitude better. Maybe not in some of them, like let's say coordination capacity, it's only still developing and etc. But obviously in discovery and cognitive, for sure. And the point is that I wrote that AI plus orgs, they are kind of match made in heaven, because in organizations there's so much inefficiencies, there's so many things to automate, that it is a very natural thing to enhance our entities and organizations and firms by AI. I mean, obviously, we're talking about AI agents a lot, and AI agents themselves can represent organizations. And this kind of side of on the left, this blue box, all of a sudden becomes more rational. It just simply becomes more rational. It becomes tighter. It becomes sharper, and its utility. It really becomes, I don't know how to say, the gradient becomes steeper, and we drive our utility function better. And the end result is less acid bubbles, less irrational kind of suffering that we're kind of undergoing regularly. So here I want to underscore that these AI agents and AI enhanced entities, they learn from the market environment, right? That's kind of the title of this talk. I mean, the upshot is that AI enhances this loop from market to price to supply and demand. And the upshot is that in cyber economy, AI really supercharges the invisible hand. As Adam Smith put it, this cybernetic nature of the economy, that it learns to allocate resources better and better. It's called the invisible hand. He called this the invisible hand, and the upshot is that in cyber economy, AI really supercharges it. So that's the story that I would say is very prominent today, and a lot of people are thinking about it, and a lot of the talks are focused on it. But I want to talk maybe about a different face of it, facet of it, which is on the right, okay? Which is on the market side. And actually, in all the talks previously, people touched on it very closely, especially Stepan. So first, let me say that there are different markets in economy, and we came up with this term, an instrumented market, internally. And what an instrumented market is, it's a market which can be accessed programmatically. So think about stocks, I don't know, hail rides on Uber or something like that, that you can really sort of program a Python code and do it kind of from the terminal. And then some markets are actually not instrumented. Obviously, there's actually a ton of them. Like for example, I don't know, buying a pillow, right? It's kind of a complicated story. You kind of go. There's a lot of those pillows out there. It's not exactly clear what are the parameters of these pillows, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a good market, but you can still do it, but it's not really instrumented very well. And then there's markets which are really bad, really not instrumented at all, which are, for example, enterprise procurements, like states putting out tenders that they want to do something, and then there's literally no market kind of devoted to it. The state kind of creates this market, but it's very manual. People submit applications, there's committees, and et cetera, et cetera. Not programmable, not efficient, and I mean, there's a lot of bureaucracy, sometimes even worse stuff there as well. And micro tasks as well. I don't know, just fix a tap or something like that. And so what I want to, probably, the message that I wanted to convey is that in cybernetic economy, AI not only enhances entities on the left, they actually make markets instrumented. So they make those markets that are not programmatically available, they make them programmatically available, and this kind of from the other side makes our economy more efficient and makes our economy itself kind of learning to allocate resources. So the resource allocation, normally we think that entities allocate resources, right? But here maybe there's a twist, there's a little twist here that actually the market itself learns to do better mechanism and to better coordinate people. Okay, so how does it work? Well, this was the topic of the first talk. Is the intent economy is the I would say the single and the most clear articulation of how how this can happen, let's say for enterprise procurement markets or for some micro tasks with specifications. And the order that I wrote there is pretty clear. It's AI basically, first of all, they can read the spec and extract an intent from the specifications with some constraints, with some, it could be like a multi-attribute intent and et cetera, et cetera. So then they can generate, and here I would say this is the key step, then they can generate a local auction or another mechanism. And Stefan talked a lot about it, but my point is that this mechanism, and an auction, everyone knows an auction, but there's actually like 100+ types of auctions. And there's a lot of things that go into the choice of auction. Is it a Dutch auction? Is it an English auction? Et cetera, et cetera. Maybe it's not even an auction, maybe sealed bid auction. Maybe it's not even an auction. Maybe it's a multi-step kind of another coordination mechanism. And here, this is the edge where we never went with AI. We never asked AI to say, I don't know, dear model, like what are different types of mechanisms which can enable me to coordinate with others in a better way. Okay, so this is the most exciting thing for me, and then for us, and auctions is just the best example. And then after this happens, the mechanism is set up. Then you need to discover counterparties. Obviously, you need to negotiate. You need to commit, ideally in a programmatic way, and you can do it in a smart contract, obviously. For example, on a blockchain. And then you execute afterwards, and it's best if your outcome actually is verifiable. Okay, so this is kind of how it can work. I'm brushing with big strokes here, but you get the idea. A lot of talks today are focused on this, and maybe let me underscore a little bit what needs to be built, right? Because we really want it to be built, and maybe I will go even further and say that it will be built anyway. It's kind of an inevitability. But we want to accelerate it, and we want to build it intentionally in a good way and drive our humanity into good equilibriums, which are kind of not as corrupted. And well, the components are there's many, but here are 5. So the first is this mechanism-aware AIs. Those are the models that know about economic mechanism design, and they know that they can set up some kind of contract somewhere to engage and interact with other agents, right? So this is what we call mechanism-aware AI. And there's builders kind of focused on it, but we think not enough, actually. So I mean, we can count them on our fingers, but I think it's a very promising area. Next is neutral environment, and this one has been talked about a lot in the previous talk, right? This neutrality, a lot of people are ideological about it. There's nothing actually ideological about. Well, actually, okay. Let me be honest. There is a fair amount of ideology. I'm ideological, but actually, it will happen because it is more efficient, and the reason is because if the environment is neutral, and we believe blockchains, in particular Ethereum, Solana, and others, they provide an ideal environment for this. They need to be neutral in order to let's say enable others to coordinate around that environment in an efficient way, and not like basically push the blanket onto themselves too much, because the environment is neutral. And what do they do there? Well, they express intents, they interchange value, right? But the most important part, which is actually right now is not happening, is that they actually, this environment provides building blocks for these agents. So it's like a Minecraft. It's a Minecraft for agents, but in an economic sense, that they can build smart contracts and interact between each other. That's kind of the key idea here. And then the generative markets is exactly what I'm talking about, right? These auctions and other types of coordination mechanisms. identity and reputation has been talked about. You know, you basically, you know, it's a factor, right? You need to reward good behavior, you need to punish bad behavior, and you need a robust kind of mechanism for that. It's not correct at all. Like, we don't have a good identity and reputation right now. So there's a lot to do there, and privacy as well. So yeah, we really do encourage kind of building in these directions. If you're working on anything in these domains and other domains that are related to cybernetic economy, please hit us up. And then, yeah, so the upshot is, well, you know, while entities, you know, on the left, they learn from the market environment, in cyber economy, actually, markets themselves, they are reinforcement learning machines because the AI is embedded into markets and they constantly self-generate and improve. Yeah. So that's basically was the main content of the talk. It's kind of putting the AI progress and the agentic platforms into the context of economy and humanity's progress. And as I said, you know, this next phase of our society feels inevitable to us. It's going to happen. The question is when. The question is how long will it take, and the question is what kind of local equilibrium, what's the path that we will take to go there. And you know, we think we need to be intentional about how we go there. We don't want to fall into the traps of, I don't know, communism and authoritarianism, where, you know, things become kind of maybe for like 5 years they're very efficient because you know, there's one commander-in-chief, but then there's no cybernetic loop that self-corrects the course, you know, and then there's like 80 years of communism in Russia, and there's of course some other examples as well. So we need to be intentional about how we go about it, and not like do really wide circles before we get there. And yeah, so that's what I talked about. Yeah, just stochastic emergence. It's you know, there is a lot of risk in it, and in particular in the context of AI, there's a risk of giving out all the data. On the one hand, on the other hand, there's a risk of kind of access to the technology itself, because the technology is highly non-trivial, and you know, the kind of, let's say a sharper and a strong picture in our head is this picture of cyber slaves that we may as well, you know, that we may become in some sense, and some of us are unfortunately already. But we think it's not necessary, and you know, in fact, we will not be cyber slaves anyways. Let's just, and we want to accelerate this path towards open cybernetic economy. And you know, how does it work in the better equilibrium? Well, there's several components to it, and I talked about them, and I want to repeat it. This really, the substrate has to be neutral. The ownership of key resources needs to be shared in some way, and then the competition has to be open, and the data needs to be private. And this is the core thesis behind with which we invest into projects. All right, so thank you very much. You know, we invite you to build towards this vision with us, and yeah, please reach out to us. Happy to talk about anything related to cyber economy, but in particular building blocks of cyber economy. Thanks very much.